Media iko sawa? Cornelius confirm sound, sitaki tena kuanza. Ate? So mpata?
So nataka ni transition ndio niangalie sauti yako kwa nini.
Sawa. Naweka tayari. All right, it is indeed a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this edition of the Tackle. It is the 10th of February 2023. Tarehe ni 10 mwezi ni wa pili mwaka 2023. Have you woken up well and you're ready? This is Sheria Wiki Hii, the 10th edition of February. This is the first actually Sheria Wiki Hii this year. The 10th of February 2023 ndio Sheria Wiki Hii show ya kwanza. Tumeanza. Please when you like we get to know that you're watching us, and that will please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Kama kawaida, please like when you like we get to know that you're watching us, and that will please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Kama kawaida tuko na mheshimiwa Ekuru Aukot, the first time, the first show of the year. Na pia tuko na mheshimiwa Honorable John Gakuchia kutoka Nyeri. Mukurweini is his first show, it's his first time actually on the show as well. Lakini kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tukirudi nakuja kujua
Nasikia siku hizo wameninyang'anya ile title yangu nabii wa siasa.
Nani amekunyang'anya?
Nasikia William Ruto ameninyang'anya hiyo title.
William ni nabii.
Na sisi ndio tulianza kutabiri matokeo.
Unajua kama mimi ni nabii wa kanisa. Wewe nabii wa siasa. Labda ako na unabii wake pia tu.
Ni kama Gakuchia.
Ndio nabii Gakuchia labda. Gakuchia ni nabii wa.
No, sikujua kweli kuna title kama nabii ya my friend hapa Aukot. Hiyo nimesikia leo.
Ni nabii, unajua mtabiri siasa sana.
Kwa sababu nilikuwa naye Nyeri, ameniletea katiba ya punguza mzigo.
Unisaidia
na mimi nikaitabiria ya kwamba haitapita. Sasa yeye akaona kama ni mchezo.
No, aliniambia itapita, lakini kumbe alinikaranga.
Nilimwambia itapita Turkana.
Labda huko ongea kando. Unajua zingine
ukimwambia itapita nilimaanisha huko Turkana.
Lakini sasa yeye atoki Turkana. Sasa zingine pia ikasumba.
Lakini ilipita Turkana.
Lakini kasumba ya ukabila pia. Nikisikia jina lako Gakuchia na nataka kuassume kwamba unatoka mahali fulani. Na labda hata huko pale. Ekuru Aukot anajua Nairobi kuliko Turkana. Mahali ingepita ni hapa.
Hata msichana ametoa hapo kwetu Nyeri.
Hata kwa
Nyeri alikuwa anatafuta Nyeri.
Nyeri is my adopted county.
Sasa alikuwa anatafuta nini Nyeri hata?
Wajua.
That's why he hoped that it would pass in Nyeri.
Unajua Bitok as a nomadic pastoralist. We traverse regions and mountains, and that's when we get Nyeri.
Nomadism is nomadism. Also let us know where you took us from this morning. Ona Mbodhe Kithonga ameamuka anasema ako wapi? Anasema ako Machakos County. Asante sana. Mwana wa Rasa. Mwana Rasa. Good morning to you. All right, I guess on YouTube as well. Good morning. How are you doing? Well, we also look at the traffic situation on our roads this morning. To the traffic earlier, traffic iko namna gani kwa barabara. Bado ulipo niambie mambo iko vipi. Whatever you are, please let me know how it's looking like. Sheria Wiki Hii, the 10th of February 2023 is the first show of the month. Please share. Kama umeingia hapo na hujashare, iko shida kidogo. Tutakuwa na matatizo kidogo. Haya, tuombe. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. You worship, we glorify your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive. We thank you even for this program as we have this conversation made edify the fabric of this country. For we pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Haya. Traffic haraka upesi. Looking at Ngong Road huko Nairobi. Ngong Road Nairobi kumeshikana kidogo hapo from Prestige heading towards Ngong Hills Hotel and also Coptic Hospital. Looking at the roundabout, Kenyatta roundabout heading towards Alingam, Total Alingam has some crazy traffic right there. Lakini inaeleweka hapo kidogo kuna kwanga na shida kwa hiyo roundabout. Looking at Alingam, Queen's Court Deck looks clean this morning, nothing to really worry about except heading towards the Yaya intersection and also heading towards Alingam roundabout down at Total. Looking in at Aukot's heading towards Oledume Road. It's crazy this morning. I don't know what's going on right there. Looking at Ring Road Kilimani, looks all clean this morning except James Gishuru heading towards Kilelesha roundabout. Looks a bit crazy this morning as well. Alitoktok Road looks a bit jammed up. Looking in at Raila Odinga way. Someone I've been calling him Mbagathi for the longest time.
Mbagathi?
Yeah, Mbagathi.
Unajua? Hii mambo ya kubadilisha majina. I mean, there is a history to some of these roads. Me, I don't understand what is the rationale behind it. Because me, I remember, for example, there are so many roads that have been changed conveniently. Na ni kama tu inakuwa dominated na certain names. Me, I wish we could go back. And I wish Ruto's government is listening.
The government is here.
Hatu mheshimiwa ako hapa. Wacha tumpatie message.
Tumana ujumbe.
Mwambie Mheshimiwa we want some of our significant places to be named after people who have made a substantial contribution to this country. Especially the people who gave us this country, who died fighting for this country. Lakini some of these
naona pahali Nabii anajaribu kuelekea, anataka barabara moja ipewe jina lake huyu.
Mimi sio lazima.
Anasema yeye si Atwoli. Unajua ulikuwa na Atwoli way.
Hata Atwoli way was vandalized. People were it was used to be Dick Gardens, Dick Roads. So why would it change? Mimi ningetaka kuona majina ya kwa mfano after some of our most
Wangari Maathai,
me have no problem with that.
Dedan Kimathi,
and many others. People actually who gave us back this country.
William Samoei Ruto. By the way, we don't have a road in the name of William Samoei Ruto. Maybe we should have one now.
No, lakini asiweke sahi.
Because he's what? He's president.
Asiweke sahi.
He's making serious, tremendous progress in this country.
Well, you will tell us that progress because after we tackle things.
Yeah, of course.
Lazima utuambie Mwesh.
Contribution gani hiyo? That deserves to.
But it's emerging out that Mwesh, even what you guys used to call as the plan. Hakuna plan. So hizi Wakenya wanaumia tu. Mimi acha nikwambie. I mean, and you know this as a mheshimiwa. It's the kind of requests we are receiving every day from ordinary Kenyans. Transport to school, hospital bills, chakula, basics. And really, I think Mwesh, you guys in government need to have a serious conversation. How do you make the lives of Kenyans a little better?
I think
because kuna shida, Mwesh.
It's true. Aukot, if there's anyone who would know and have a feeling of what Kenyans go through on a day-to-day basis, is any political leader. Before they reach to you and ask you to help you in any way, you will find that Kenyans have already gone to the MCA, have gone to the MP, have gone to the governor. I mean, we have one-on-one with our people. And we do receive a lot of their requests. Like yesterday I spent the whole day, in Mukurweini. I had a meeting in the morning here in Nairobi. I went to Mukurweini. I was helping the Form 1s with the bursaries. We were giving them bursaries, the ones who were going to Form 1. And you're able to interact with people and you get to know exactly what they're going through. And so I don't think I'm in a position actually to be informed about the challenges that are there. We understand and we know. The only good thing is that these challenges, first, they are not new challenges. These are challenges that have been there and they have been with us. But the good news is that there's hope. There's hope because the way we are now tackling the challenges that we are having, sooner or later, we will reduce the suffering of Kenyans. The plan is on course. Okay. The plan is on course. And I can tell you, there's no other time that we had a government that was more serious about its agenda than we do have now. If you remember, just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, His Excellency the President spent a whole 1 week in Nanyuki with the cabinet secretaries, the PSs, and the chairman of departmental committees in the National Assembly and the Senate, and the top leadership of the country. And the reason why this was happening was to unpack the plan. To unpack the plan. And each one of them was given their bit to go and sit down and come up with a
Mwesh, what is the plan?
Just let me just finish.
Deconstruct for us the plan.
Let me
break it down for us.
Just a minute.
Let them execute
Just a minute. I want to give you the bigger picture, the overview. You know, what happened in Nanyuki is that the members of the executive were all given their bit of the plan. Because the plan is big, it cuts across all the ministries. So each one of them was given their bit. You go and sit down with your peers, with the key leaders in your ministry, and now you develop deliverables. Deliverables that then would be would use now to measure your performance. And that was not a small task. They would sit down there, and now you have to now internalize as you also unpack also your part. And you make a proper roadmap and a work plan on how you're going to achieve the plan. And now there's a plan in as far as your department or your ministry is concerned. And that's how you heard that some of the waziris were left even there working even after Sunday. Some of them, most of them actually did not make it to church on that Sunday morning. I was in Nanyuki. Why? Because we were supposed to deliver a report on Sunday afternoon. Now, the difference with this government and why there's hope, a lot of hope for that matter, is because the government has also come up with a department or a state department that is going to be taking care of performance. The last time we ever heard about performance and how to measure performance was in Kibaki's government. You remember, I think that time the minister who was in charge of the performance was Oparanya. At some point, I think before that was Akaranga. Then Oparanya came on board. And you remember the big days we used to have at the amphitheater in KICC when ministers would come with their report card and they have been measured their performance, and they would then come and account to the country, to the nation, about how they have performed in their areas. Now, we are back to that again. That we have we have a state department that is going to be dealing with performance, evaluating the plan looking at what we have been able to. Yeah.
You see, Mwesh, you have said so many things. You are theorizing, which is okay. You must have a theory before.
Am I theorizing, or I'm explaining what happened in the news? It's not a theory.
Allow him to tackle you also. This is the tackle.
Hizo ni vipindi na hadithi. Wacha nikwambie. What the Kenyans want, and I'm asking you, what really is the plan? Deconstruct for us. Tell us the plan is A, B, C, D. And I want you to contextualize that in the light of the challenges that Kenyans are going through every day. For example, we know, is it by this month or by April, Kenya Power electricity will go by about 40-something%. You know, there's taxation in almost everything now. I earn a salary, it is taxed. I transfer that money to M-Pesa, it is taxed. I send somebody that money, it is taxed. Mwesh, just in very simple terms, tell us exactly what is the plan, because I'll tell you this, I will tackle you this way. William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua, and even yourself, and many others, are not new in government. So this thing of telling us, oh, give us 100 days, we gave you 100 days. Now you're extending the goalpost, give us another 1 year. So did you actually have a plan? Because someone like, say, William Ruto, in my view, had a whole 4 years of campaign and planning. So right now, what Kenyans are asking for, we want execution. We want our lives to look better. In fact, there's a video that's going around saying that guy was comparing the price of cement. If you buy a cement, it's what, 50 kg, it's about 800 Kenya shillings.
In Turkana?
No, I don't know.
No. Because I'm building now, I bought cement yesterday.
At how much?
At 650.
650?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Now you're even coming to my point. So cement is 650, yeah? But let's go to the price of unga. Yeah? So if you do unga, yeah? 1 kg of unga is how much?
But did you ask me to explain the plan?
Yes, I will. But I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to give you a context within which I want you to deconstruct the plan.
Mnataka kwanza kupiga masufuria.
I'm giving you a practical example. Context. Ndio mheshimiwa akituambia hii plan yao ni inaingiaje kwa hii context. So a guy was saying, and I'm happy you corrected me. I thought cement is 800.
Unajua ni ile propaganda mnapika hapo kila siku. Kama sasa wamesema ati kila kitu is now taxable. I want you to give us one tax that has come with this government.
Oh, excise duty.
One tax.
Excise duty applies almost in everything.
But let's be truthful. Let's be truthful, my
okay, can I finish my context? Then I want you to apply.
Tupe tax moja mpe imeingia.
Then I want you to apply.
Na hii serikali.
Allow Ekuru Aukot to express his point.
Let me give you the context. Then now I want you to apply your plan to that context.
Okay.
For example, I was telling you that there is a guy who is actually done a social media post in which he says that for him, the price of unga is more expensive than simiti. Yeah? Cement you buy at 650. That is 50 kg. Now unga almost goes for about 200. So if you multiply 200 times 50 kgs, how much is that? So cement is more expensive actually than unga. Sasa tujenge ama tukule. So now, I've given you just a context of that. That is a Kenyan who is telling everyone, wants to put food on the table. So tell me, how does the plan of this administration not work? Address that context.
Very good, thank you. Is it a new discovery that this guy, has this guy just discovered that a bag of cement or a kilo of cement is less expensive or is cheaper than a kilo of unga? It has been that way. Even if unga was to sell at 1 kg, even if 1 kg was to sell at 100 or even 90, it will still be more expensive.
So no, but
then it's just like water.
But what he was saying,
it's just like water. Water is always more expensive than super petrol. Yes, even if you have to take what do you call it, V-power.
And why should water be expensive in a country with a lot of water bodies? For example, I'll tell you this, Mweshe. If I was in charge of this country, there is no way River Tana or is it Galana will drain the Indian Ocean when people in northeastern Tana River do not have water.
No,
I will divert that water and grow food.
And when we talk about the water which is expensive than the super petrol, is a packaged water, is a what they would call the mineral water, not the normal water ordinarily, but whatever the water is stocked at the shop ordinarily will be more expensive than. I mean, I'm saying those are just things that have been that way even in other countries. But in
other countries, you actually have the choice, either tap water, because then countries deliberately make effort to ensure that water is available to everyone. In fact, in other, I mean, you and I have traveled and we know this. You can actually get the choice, Mwesh. Do you want bottled water or tap water? And the reason you can take tap water is because water is purified, is safe to drink. Now in Kenya, it is the opposite. If you want to drink tap water, you risk a lot of illnesses.
I think it will be bad manners for me to say that you are saying that out of ignorance. I won't say that. Let me just say this. I've worked in the water industry, and I want to go to the issue of your plan, but I've worked in the water industry for over a decade. I have worked for the Nairobi Water Company, and I can tell you, when we come to the quality of water in this city, we have one of the best qualities of water across the globe. The quality of water you take in Nairobi here is the same quality of water you take in London. And of course, also companies like Nyeri Water, their quality of water is of the highest level, and that's why they are even ISO certified. They have gone through all the levels that are supposed to give you a quality water. The only challenge that normally would have in cities and in other areas is the storage. Sometimes people store water in ways that contaminate that water. But when you are taking this water purified, if you go to Kabete here, where we have a treatment works, and get the water from the pipe at Kabete here, it's of higher quality than the bottled water, by the way. But generally, we would have a problem when water is stored in tanks which are never washed and all that. But now, that's not the point. The point here is about the plan.
Let's go to the plan.
Yeah, it's about the plan. And of course, as I get to the plan, I would also want to demystify the myth or the propaganda that is being sold around that Ruto has increased tax. There is no finance bill, even one that you have tackled, and you know very well. The only way you can increase tax is by doing a finance bill, where then you introduce new taxes.
But that's the excuse you're using.
But
with all due respect,
it's really not an excuse.
With all due respect, that is the excuse you're using because, one, again, I don't want to use your words so that at the risk of telling you that it's a bit ignorant of you, because you see,
but you have already said it. You have said it without saying.
But you see, as a legislator, and you know this, countries are not only run by way of means of law. It could be a policy issue, it could be an administrative issue. So you guys are trying to hide behind the fact that there is no finance bill. But administratively and policy-wise, you've actually affected the lives of Kenyans, and that's how countries are being run. So, don't hide behind the fact that there is no law.
But then, let's be truthful. Let's be truthful. Yeah. Number one, I have said the only legal way to increase tax is through the finance bill. That's number one. Number two, there is an assertion, because His Excellency the President has said people must pay tax. There's an assertion now people are trying to corrupt that to mean that new taxes have been introduced, whereas it's not true. There's no new tax which is introduced. Even the excise duty that you have talked about, the one for transferring money from the bank to your M-Pesa, is not a new tax. That excise duty.
The difference between you and me.
Can I finish? Can I finish? That excise duty that is between the transactions between the bank and the mobile phones is not a new tax. It's not a new excise duty. It has been there all along for I think about 5 years, and what happened is that when we had COVID, it was suspended. You know,
Bitok, I'm sorry, I'm not disrupting you.
No. I think.
Allow him to execute
and be patient.
Allow him.
No, but let's not lie.
Yeah, you know. So
let him lie, then you can correct him.
So the excise duty for transfer of money was suspended during COVID times. And why was it suspended? To ensure that people do online transactions. And I'm not trying to say that it's a good excise duty. If I were probably to look at the law, then I would also be trying to see how we make it lighter for people to transact online without having to pay that excise duty. But in the first place, that excise duty is not new. It has always been there. What has happened is that now, after the effects and the impact of COVID is kind of now disappeared, the banks have, in a way, through the central bank, try now to return that tax. But again, a Kenyan has gone to court and blocked that. So it's also not being taxed as we are talking now. It has been suspended. So the issue is we need to be truthful about what we are saying. So as of now, there is no new tax that has been introduced. Now, let me go to the issue of the plan.
Before you go to the plan, I'll give you two practical examples. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm paying for mortgage right now. Yeah. We used to pay 13 point something percent. Now it has gone to 14 point something percent. That's an increase. Yeah. Even my own monthly installments right now have gone up. So I'm giving you a practical example.
I will.
And secondly, the truth for the matter is this: if you really, if the idea of the plan, and I really want you to delve into this plan, and that's why for me I took time to give you a context of how Kenyans work on day-to-day basis and how they are struggling on day-to-day basis. Because Mwesh, you of all people ought to know, and you've been there, you've been speaker of County Assembly of Nyeri, so you understand the struggles Kenyans are going through. Now, just okay, without regurgitating, just break down for us what is this plan and how is it helping the life of an ordinary.
Yeah, good. And indeed I said, I'm very well informed of the challenges that Kenyans are going through. And it is true, there are many challenges. That is not in question. And Kenyans have gone through many challenges as we are talking. And your mortgage having to go up, really, you also know very well that the rate capping was removed. It was not removed in this government. It was not removed in this year. The rate capping, was removed about 2 years ago. The moment the rate capping was removed, it meant that then the liberalization of interest rates with the banks was returned. Before you are protected.
And that's where government becomes upset, because you see, Mwesh, for you, you get now a house grant of about, what is it, 25 million? As a member of parliament. Now me, ordinary Kenyan who is working so hard, banks are still charging, and you are getting charged what? It's 3% or something like that. You know, so you are advantaged over me, who is toiling myself, you know, over and above that. You even get a car grant of about, is it 5 million or whatever. So Mwesh, you know, that's what I'm saying to you. Please just tell us this plan. How does it address the problems of ordinary Kenya?
That is it. And I have.
Let's also give him a minute to express himself.
So I have explained why your mortgage rate might have gone up. I am also having a commercial bank loan, by the way. I may not even have been able to access so much of the government loan because I already had a commercial loan. So really, I'm probably going through the same suffering that you're going through. And so I understand and I know. And that came as a result of the lifting of the cappings. And of course, you know, for me, I was a proponent of the interest rate capping, by the way. I remember talking to Jude Jomo when he brought that law, and I personally, even now, I still remain a proponent of the rate capping. But of course, you know, we have other institutions across the multinational institutions that also kind of dictate also some of these financial and economic status or maneuvers of different countries, like IMF, World Bank and all that. Sometimes they give us so many conditions. And you know, like 2 years ago, that is what may have happened for us now to be able to lift the interest rate cappings in Kenya. But now, the plan is much more about production. Yeah, we have to look at how we are producing more and encouraging people to produce, so that once we have a lot of production and we have more people producing, then we have we increase the supply as the demand is also very high. And with that arrangement, and I'm talking now when I look at the plan in terms of the food production, because this really is one of the areas where the Kenyans are suffering quite a lot because of the prices of food and inflation and all that. And what the government is looking at is generally to ensure that we have as many people as possible producing as much food as possible across the country. Those who can produce their own food for their own sustenance, that is what we call the subsistence farming, can be able to produce that food and consume it and have sufficient and enough to consume throughout the year. Then we are looking at those people who are able to produce as much food as possible for the country, for the strategic reserves, then do so, like the way we have the bread basket in the Western Belt. And so what the government then is doing in this arrangement is to ensure that all the conditions for production are actually put in a way that farmers can be able to produce. And one of the things is to ensure that we are having proper inputs, and inputs which are accessible at good rates. And that's why you have seen that the government has invested heavily on fertilizer, so that as many Kenyans as possible can be able to access fertilizer in a cheap manner. And that's why the price of fertilizer has come all the way from 7,500 to slightly be above 2,500 to just about 3,000. So that as many Kenyans can be able to access this fertilizer and reduce the cost of inputs, and then increase production. And the production will not be very expensive, so that we can have much more food produced for the strategic reserves and also for consumption at home for subsistence farming. Now, that is one of the key areas where the government is working on ensuring that we're able to produce. Now, we have the other issue of irrigation water, because the irrigation water is also as important as the fertilizer that we are getting. Now, the government has come up with a robust approach to this. Has come up with the issue of PPPs in terms of dams, and they have been categorized that we are going to have major dams, we are going to have medium dams, and we are going to have smaller dams. So you are not hearing so much of now those bigger infrastructural projects like SGR and such. For now, you will be hearing much more of major infrastructural projects in agriculture, so that we can support production, because we are basically a country where agriculture is our backbone, we say, the backbone of the economy. And so the government is now going that direction, where we're going to have every county is going to have one mega dam, and then the sub-counties are going to have medium dams, and then you can have also smaller dams which are also funded by the government. That will ensure that people are able to farm so much and produce so much. Now, there are some things that you can do like immediately, like providing fertilizer is something that you're able to do immediately. And we can see government is practical. It has gone ahead to produce this. And by the way, this fertilizer is not being given blindly. What the government has done, which I think is genius, and I've been observing what they are doing, every sub-location in this country, the sub-chiefs, the assistant chiefs, have been tasked to collect data about the size of the land of the farmers. And they have even been given gadgets across the country. And this is where I like what the president said, that instead of using the provincial administration for political purposes, they will be using it for developmental reasons. Now, sub-chiefs in every village have been very busy, by the way, even in your village. They have been collecting data about arable farming.
In my village, they are not doing anything.
There are no sub-chiefs?
We are busy fighting conflict.
It's long since you are in your home country. When did you go to Shags before last?
With bandits.
I can tell you in my village.
Yeah, so,
I can tell you in my village.
So,
no, wait a minute. I can tell you in my village.
I don't want to lose this trail of thought.
Let us not lose this thought. Let us finish this thought. I'll give you a chance. I'll get back to you shortly.
So, the assistant chiefs are collecting data, and this is also important for Kenyans who may be in urban areas who may not be knowing what is happening. They collect data with some gadgets like these smartphones, whereby they enter the name of the farmer and the size of the land, and they collect so much information, and that information is real time, fed into the system, and it is received all the way to KNBS, is received all the way to the Ministry of Agriculture, to the Ministry of Irrigation, to the Planning Ministry, so that we are able to know how much fertilizer is required for which farmer. And then this fertilizer is provided at the agrovet nearest. So they're also registering the agrovet. It's also provided to the nearest agrovet.
You know,
let him finish. Let him finish.
You know, you may laugh because this might sound to be too good to be true. But now, when you go to the up country, where I spend most of my time, my brother, then you realize that indeed something beautiful is happening.
Okay.
Yeah, are you getting?
Yeah.
Now, once this fertilizer is provided, before, like now, when the president came on board, he provided 6 million bags of fertilizer, which was taken to the silos around the silos in the KPCUs. Yeah. But now, what will be happening is that they will not be put at the KPCUs. They will be, not KPCU. These are the storage, the warehouses, NCPB, the NCPB, also the KPCU, also the warehouses. So this will now be taken down now to the ground. We will not have it centralized somewhere. People have to now access it nearest to their places. So the agrovet will be going to the NCPB warehouses and getting so much for the village. Then the villagers would come in
and pick it from.
Yeah, so at that point, we're going to increase our production as a country.
Okay.
I get it.
Fair enough,
and that way, we are going to have much more food produced. And that's why the president said, all this money we have been using to subsidize unga, let us use that money to subsidize fertilizer instead of unga. You know, before we will not subsidize fertilizer. We would subsidize the unga. Now, having changed just that matrix, just a little bit, just twisting it a bit, you find that production is going to be higher now, and then the price of unga will go down, and then you will not need to have the subsidy.
Okay. So fair enough, it's a beautiful plan. Very theoretical, because I say theoretical because for some of us where we come from, that's a lie. You are lying to Kenyans, because first of all, as of yesterday, I come from Kapedo Lomelo area in Turkana East. As of yesterday, we are dodging bullets. Just the other day in Nadapal, in Lokchogo, where I come from, in Turkana, people are basically chasing, dodging bullets and that. So government is absent. Meanwhile, we are seeing part of your plan is social media posts, press conferences about addressing this. So you tell me, Mwesh, practically speaking, in a place like, say, Turkana East, Turkana South, what you're telling me about agriculture, maybe you're talking about Nyeri. I don't know. I mean, you could be talking about Nyeri, Nyandarua, Muranga, and Wasingishu and the rest. But yeah, seriously.
Why mention of those counties?
Wasingishu, because that's why
president, deputy.
Because that's why you guys are rooted.
You're very political.
No. Wesh. By the way, Nyeri is also my adopted county, as you know.
I know.
Yeah, Nyeri is also my adopted county.
Maybe you should visit Gatitu Morogoro and see whether they are doing it.
My Wanjiru,
so that
comes from Gatitu.
Yeah,
but I'm telling you,
maybe you should ask her if there is fertilizer.
Yeah, if it is.
In fact,
in fact, you should
do fertilizer.
Yeah.
It apply in a place like Lomelo where people are being killed yesterday. There is no
Lomelo are gonna fertilizer.
No, but
hakuna NCPB,
maybe
hakuna KPC,
my brother,
hakuna ni so much.
New strategy for that area.
I think what I'm just saying to you, it's okay. I think you may have a plan, but your plan is only
it's not deliverable to everybody.
Not deliverable to everybody. Okay. I think, for example, if you came and told us, the nomadic pastoralist community of Kenya, that okay, dams, it's a good idea. Meat production, for example, I mean, we probably produce 80% of all the meat that people eat in Kenya. And now it's about how do we enhance that productivity in terms of, for example, even ensuring there is a proper abattoirs and this meat is properly packaged. We do value addition. We should not be buying shoes from China, from Turkey. Why can't we make our own shoes? Why can't we make our own belts? Why can't we make our own wallets? And a nomadic pastoralist community can actually provide that resource, and it can enrich the economy of this country.
My brother, for the avoidance of being theoretical, as you were saying, theory. For the avoidance of being theoretical,
very quickly, let me move on from
I was trying to explain what is happening in my village. Okay. So what I was saying really is what is happening in my village. So I was just trying to explain what I am seeing and what I know.
In my village,
now,
your plan doesn't make sense.
Now, let me come to your village now.
Yes.
Let me come to your village.
Which you've never.
Let me come to your village. And I don't want to purport to be the government spokesman. And that's why
You're doing a fantastic
job. That's why I'm trying to first of all just explain what I'm seeing happening in my village, which I think I like.
Okay.
And I think it's in line with our desires and our plan. But what we have now in your area, for example, I would want you to take what is happening in Nyeri and Mukurweini in particular, and now extrapolate the same now to your area.
Transplant it.
In the area or in the livelihood of your people, so that the dam that is now going to be done in Turkana, because as you saw the advert, I think actually there was actually some information that was let out by the Ministry of Water and Irrigation on the dams. In fact, even the dam that is that has qualified to be funded in your area is also there. Now,
which area in Turkana?
No, I don't have the information about the dam in Turkana, but I know at least the one in Nyeri, the one which has been taken as Nyeri
talk
dam.
About Nyeri, because I come from Turkana.
No, I'm telling you, the data which I saw had all the dams, 47 dams, because they have done a dam in every county. To go together. Okay. They have done in every county. So that dam which is going to be done in Turkana, I don't know where it is. Well, that dam which is going to be done in Turkana. It may not be used maybe for the kind of farming that might be done in my village. Like my village, by the way, is not even so much of maize these days. My village is a little bit much more of sweet potatoes and arrowroots. That's what we are farming much more. That is in my small village. But then when you go to the other villages around Mukurweini, you will also find different other things that they are farming. So even my village is not the same as any other village around Mukurweini. So when now you come to your villages in Turkana, first you have talked about the new challenges that we have there about banditry, although they are not new challenges. These are insecurity issues that have always been there, that we hope and believe that this government will once and for all handle this issue, the banditry problem. So but when you look at what your people do, they are doing pastoralism and they are doing beef farming. Could be these dams then will be used for that purpose a little bit more than the way we will use our dam in Nyeri County. So what you require to see is there that dam in Turkana? Then, and then I'm sure the Minister for Agriculture and Livestock also in the plan is also now looking at the way we are going to be looking at the issue of beef farming, not only for the country, but also for export. You know, we have lost millions and millions of cattle during this drought. I want to believe this is the last time again we see those kind of losses. The ministry must be prepared now to be able to buy off take from farmers when there is a big and huge drought, and have these livestock fattened elsewhere and exported, and then the farmer will get money. And then the day when there is rain, or when they can be able to have some more cattle, then they get the money to reinvest. Yeah, so all this is in the plan. So when we look at the livestock line,
so how much time do we give you before we see this plan actualizing?
I'm telling you, the president is not sleeping.
Okay.
The guy is working overtime. He's working overdrive. The ministers here, ulisikia akisema sasa hapa tutakuja kujua mwenye alipata kazi na mwenye alipatwa na kazi. Because these guys are not going to be resting. It's going to be difficult for them. In fact, some of the people may have thought that they are going to get cabinet secretaries to enjoy. No.
All right. Let me ask you a question. Even as we transition from that conversation, I would want to know, this country, since the first president, they have always had just one thing that they did right. When Kenyatta came in, he identified the problems that he needed to deal with. One of it was healthcare, poverty, and education. And he tried to find a way around it. When Moi came, he talked about kufuata nyayo. Then he came with his philosophy, peace, love, and unity, and grassroots development. You could see Moi building gabions in the villages. You could see him building schools. You could see him with the cattle dips. You could see him moving around. He identified that the problem that we had at that point was rural development. It was an issue of rural development. And he ensured that within all those years that he was running as president, he focused on that. When Kibaki came in, he identified one problem, the economy and also education. And he came and he said, the only thing I'm going to deal with, the first thing, wakati leka Biblia chini, free education. All the children that were not able to go to school went to school. Parents who were not able to pay school fees finally could see their children going to school. And he identified another problem in the state of the economy. And for the years that he was president, first 5 years, he focused on that. The second one was infrastructure in the second term, and he focused on the roads, opening up the country, opening up Thika Road, you remember, gradually ensuring the development gets to the people so that the people can develop on their own. When Uhuru came in, he talked about the capital projects. Look at SGR, look at all these other roads that we are seeing around. And it looks like he focused on that for the next 10 years. And one of the first news that we got from Uhuru Kenyatta was the SGR in his first term. Now, what is that one project? That one project of Kenya Kwanza government that we can look in the eyes and tell them this is what has touched Mwananchi. Because education, it went down to the least parent who could not afford school fees. It touched that person. Talked about the capital projects, people could finally be mesmerized by the things that are happening in the country. What is that one thing that we need to look at when we talk about Kenya Kwanza and say, hii, wameingia na inaguza to the least Mwananchi?
The Kenya Kwanza government will look at the economic emancipation of the common people. Itaangalia vile watu wa kawaida wanaweza sasa kufikiwa na maendeleo ya nchi yetu ya Kenya, kwa sababu wale watu ambao wamefanya maendeleo kama yale yamefanywa katika serikali ya Uhuru Kenyatta ni maendeleo makubwa. SGR, the expressway, which I had a problem this morning, I think a breakdown with the systems. It has actually contributed to my delay a bit. So we have those kind of mega huge big projects that were done during that time, of course, which mainly we are a bit more of funded more from credit. Now this government is going to concentrate a little bit more on empowerment of the common Mwananchi, to ensure that the common Mwananchi has food to eat, has money in the pocket, and the way to do that is by ensuring that production is enhanced and subsidized, to ensure that young people get skills. That is why when I talk myself, I'm always talking and looking at the issue of how I'm going to ensure that young people in Mukurweini are going to get skills to be able to be employable and also to do things on their own, to be able to employ themselves as well. So that is also another area where this government is going to look at. It's going to be looking at the issue of connectivity as well, so that the villages are also connected to fiber optic, so that there is economic growth happening across the country in a faster way. You have heard of the 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic. And by the way, so far the country has only done, the government has only done 12,500 kilometers of fiber optic, and the private sector has done only 12,500. So in total we have only 25,000 kilometers of fiber optic in this republic. Now the government here now has a robust plan to have 100,000.
What is that
kilometers?
I want that one thing that we can stick with. Ile tutakwama naye tuseme
no, the government, this government, you see where Kibaki left it in terms of economic emancipation, the empowerment, economic revival of the country. This government is going to be looking much more on how we are going to revive the economy. And this economy is not the economic growth in terms of just the GDP. It is the economic growth right from the grassroots. So the grassroots economic empowerment of the people is going to be one of the major areas that this government is going to have a serious imprint. I mean, when farmers talk about having money in their pockets in coming days, they will remember, yes, there was a president called President Ruto, because he came and changed the way we farmed. He came and changed the way coffee and tea is sold. He came and changed the way pyrethrum and other cash crops are sold to the market. And he came and dealt with the cartels in the milk industry and all the other industries. And now we as the people are able to have money in our pockets.
So we can say it's agriculture.
Yeah, it's agriculture. But again, I also want you to look at it a little bit more as economic empowerment, much more for the commoners. And that's why we are talking about the bottom-up economic model, because we are not only developing the agriculture, because you could develop the agriculture, but develop it for the ranchers, develop it for the large-scale farmers in wheat farming in Narok. You could do it for the big boys, but you are looking at it as agriculture and economic empowerment for the common mwananchi. We do an economic model that is much more closer to the people, so that we are not only having the country economy growing, but it is much more growing in Turkana. Did you call it Kapendo? We have it growing there with the person who is farming camel and who is farming goats and cows in that area, as much as the person who is farming sweet potatoes and arrowroots, someone who is farming macadamia and avocados. I mean, you have economic growth for those people. They have money in their pocket. The bottom-up economic model. That is really one of the hallmarks of this.
To give this government an advice, and I hope Mukurweini can deliver this to.
He will deliver
to the president. I think there are two things you need to address, Mukurweini, because a lot of things you're saying is just mambo jambo, hapa na pale. You know, me, I think you should address, like Bitok gave you a proper history of, we can identify certain regimes with certain things, specifically did it. In my honest opinion, I think the government of administration of William Ruto needs to fix one, theft of public money. Because if you stop, you know me, I don't even like to use the word corruption because corruption is so alien in our traditions and cultures and tribal thinking. I think it's theft. If I say when in Kalenjin, chorindet, mwizi, it's more painful. Mwizi, so I can relate to it. So if we can actually just address that, because if you look at one of the beauties of our Kenya, our country, is devolution. The fact that now even us as the Turkana, we can no longer say that we are marginalized or we are being segregated. There is billions of money that actually comes to our counties, but that money is being mismanaged in each and every county. If you look at the Auditor General report, wizi inafanyika. Me, I will say this. William Ruto just needs to stop the theft of public money. And that theft of public money, if it is stopped, is actually what will now develop those counties. It will give people water, health, education, build roads and all that. It's being abused. Now, for regions such as where we come from, the Kenya of the North, as I choose to call it, the Northern Frontier Districts, for us, if you could only just fix security of both the person and the property, we are actually multi-millionaires. Yeah, somebody who has like 100 cows, 200 cows, Bitok, just fanya tu hesabu. ya ng'ombe moja. But because of insecurity, and that's why when I listen to Mheshimiwa talk about gym academia na manini, me coming from Turkana East and Turkana South, largely and Turkana, just the other day, I mean, I'm talking about yesterday, we are struggling with just issue of security of lives. So that even this plan you're talking about elaborately, Mweshe, can only apply maybe in Mukurweini comfortably, or in Wasingishu, but not in Turkana. So I will say, if you were to equalize us, yeah, you wizi ya mali, pesa ya umma, you have to stop it, because then this money must find its way in each and every ward of this country and develop the economic opportunities in those countries, and then give us some of our security. Because even in this Nairobi, security now is a bit fragile.
Okay. All right.
The issue of security, Bitok, in Turkana and other banditry-prone areas cannot be underestimated. And it's a very, very important and critical issue. And it is true, what Mheshimiwa say, that as someone who is having 200 cows or even 1,000 cows, a person who is in Mukurweini would be looking at that person from a distance, because that person is very wealthy, you know. And it's true. The issue of security need to be addressed. And so it's not an issue that I mean, it's very, it's just as critical and as important. And what need to be done is probably you leaders also need to work very, very closely with the government to ensure that that is being done. You know, this insecurity issue, you know, has also been over-politicized over the years. And for once, hopefully, we can be able to address that. And I see, as we talk now, most of the security dockets are now quite dominated by people from the northern frontiers. So I hope, for once, they can also use the fact that this is home we are talking about. They can use that to fix that problem. And reduce the politics about the insecurities in those areas. I imagine maybe if we were to take the whole of northern Kenya, it wouldn't be, I mean, it would be bigger than the Dubai United Arab Emirates. Are you getting? And it is not as bad as UAE, the way it is in terms of the weather conditions. The weather conditions here are still more conducive. So if we were to handle this issue of insecurity here, maybe, just maybe, we will be able to progress that, or we will be able to do more development going that way. And by the way, during the Kibaki time, he came up with the northern frontier, the northern corridor, which in the world, in the Vision 2030, was supposed to open this country going that way, to the northern part. Other than now going back to, you know, we are supposed to open the country going that way. In fact, during those times, you could hear things like Isiolo becoming a capital of Kenya. That's why there is even a huge international airport in Isiolo. Never mind, again, it was bundled through corruption, because I don't even think it is used today, because it was not done properly. The person who was given the contract mishandled that contract. So the issue of Lapset also came around that time. We want to open that northern corridor so that Kenya can grow that direction, because that's probably the frontiers of growth and economic emancipation that is going to help this country. So we have to focus north. We have to then deal with the issue of insecurity. That is not in question. And I want to believe and hope that our CS Kidiki and also the other guys who are in the security docket are going to be as concerned as really it should be. And yes, that's an area that we must focus on a very serious note.
All right. Coming back again to the siasa of the day, the Matiang'i drama. Kidogo Matiang'i anashikwa, baba wanasema askari wamefika. The government takes over 10 hours to respond, but they finally responded and said no. Amina said, I never sent DCI officers. ESCC said, no, you are never there on ground. The IG of police, Kome, has also said, no, hatukuwa najaribu kushika Matiang'i. Now, who is fooling who? And he knows benefit in this saga.
Watoe video ikiwa na mapolisi wako huko. Walitoa video ya baba.
By the way, in this era of technology and social media, Because that's the fastest way people get in news. How come nobody even photographed these Askaris? Because me, I'll have expected a quick post on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Like when Malala was being arrested, you could clearly see the policemen and their vehicles and the bundukis and everything. I mean,
but then again, government supporters were coming out very strongly to say what goes around comes around. What was that was going around? And
I think there are some people who have not read the mood of the boss and the thinking of the boss.
Okay.
You know, sometimes we say some people mourn more than the bereaved. Mm-hmm. The person who suffered the brunt of intimidation was William Samoei Ruto during the last 5 years. Okay. But if you read his mood and read the direction he's taking this country, he's not on a revenge mission. And clearly, he doesn't look interested in revenge. Okay. He looks much more interested in bringing the country together. And maybe, as my brother said here, off the cuff, also focusing on 2027. You wouldn't be focusing on 2027 and developing the nation and bringing the country together if you become so vengeful. So for him, he has already put back those problems. Okay. But you see, there are a few other people who don't seem to have read that. They still seem to be stuck on the sufferings that they may have gone through. That's why you saw some of the people rushing to now try and justify. But may I also say this? The way I look at this from a political analyst perspective now, not even from a politician's perspective, the whole of this issue was mismanaged. And it was not, I mean, let me not say mismanaged, let me say stage managed.
Why
it was stage managed. It was.
But it is both stage managed and
mismanaged at the same time.
Yeah, because now, the government mismanaged it.
Yes. From the Matiang'i side.
The government has said we are not involved.
But how many hours later?
It mismanaged it by not responding appropriately and promptly. But on the other side of being stage managed, the stage managing did not happen that night when it was being done. This is something that was done from very far off. Someone knew that we are going to be taking these steps. For example, the issue of withdrawal of presidential police, security. You know, all these things are hula balloons. They are all neither here nor there. There is nothing like that. The president's security has not been removed. But someone is giving a misinformation to that is a former president. Someone is giving misinformation to create fear and despondency in the country. Now, that was done. Then there's the issue of this Matiang'i issue that he has been sieged by elite policemen, and you can't see those elite policemen anywhere, in any video, any photo, anywhere. Now, what also happened, I can tell you this from a political analyst perspective. Some of those things that you're seeing being done, or being brought, being put in the social media, what Matiang'i had said then and what is happening to him now, trying to justify why revenge is important. By the way, some of those clips have also been made by the team that was planning the stage managing. It's a trap. They make those clips just a bit. They make those clips. Wanakutengenezea clip yako wewe, si ni Gakuchia. Si ulifinywa sana wakati wa ile miaka 5 ile wakati wa siasa. Wanakurushia clip yako what was happening.
Alafu watu wako wanachangamka.
Na wewe unaona ya. Na wewe unatuma. So in other words, someone played our reverse psychology mapema na akajua tutafanya hivi, tutawarushia hizi clips. Na wajinga watafanya nini? Watasambaza, unaona? Na wataziona. So we have owned some of our bloggers and what they owned things that really they shouldn't own in the first place that were being sent to them. I mean, the whole of this thing is political maneuver, and I think it has more bearing to do with 2027. There are people who are trying to now, you know, it's like some people have seen the way the president was castigated by the former regime. People had he became like a victim, and so he got quite a bit of sympathy votes or sympathy from the people. And now people think it's a major strategy that they would want to employ as they are focusing in 2027. So Matiang'i would want to be a player in the 2027 politics. And what he's trying to do now, number one, is trying to create some sympathy with the public. Number two, he also knows that he could also have messed some things. And he knows there are many things that he may have done wrong. And maybe they will also catch up with him. And so what do? You start stage managing this and going to court to create drama around that, so that when it happens, you have already politicized that particular issue. So it's really a political, but it's also very shameful that you could have done that.
My feeling is very simple about this issue. No, there's nothing special about Matiang'i or even Uhuru Kenyatta or anybody else in this country. We are all equal Kenyan citizens, and this country belongs to all of us in equal measure. So if Matiang'i has committed any wrongs, and maybe this is where I agree with Mwesh, the government also may have mismanaged this situation. Why can they come out open and tell us we are going after Matiang'i because of ABC? Listen, we are not strangers in this country. We know that Matiang'i was involved in the Ruaraka land saga. And that's the reason why there's a discussion around corruption. We know that Matiang'i also misbehaved in the last government when they, for example, mistreated Ruto and maybe may have made certain decisions that actually were injurious to some of the political class. So why are we excusing this guy? If Matiang'i, if there's something, he's committed any offense or omissions, there's nothing special about him. William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta were tried at The Hague, charged with serious offenses of rape, murder, genocide, and all that. Kwani, what is special about Matiang'i? So people should tell us the truth. But I also know, hii ni drama tuna vipindi. Because because how come, like I said, let's go back to the effect of social media today in our country. If really there was even a semblance of truth that they were actually elite policemen. Hiyo tungeona kwa Twitter, tungeona kwa Facebook, tungeona kwa WhatsApp.
Sasa tuliona Danson Omari.
We just saw Danson Omari and his team. And then of course,
it's laughable.
And then there was also a big lie. At 200 lawyers.
Lakini mawakili mnalalanga na
but you must know that Danson Omari is equals to 100 lawyers.
Yeah, but it's
and Raila Odinga is equal to 100 lawyers.
Can you ignore a crowd of 200 people?
But mawakili mnalalanga na suti, hiyo ndio nataka kujua. Mnalalanga na suti. Saa 6 usiku wakili ameshatokea mpaka na tie. Mnalalanga na suti.
That's why I think there is a semblance of truth that this thing was stage managed. And I think a certain political grouping is desperate and want to remain completely relevant. And I think if you ask me, Bitok, this goes back to a responsible leadership. And maybe this is just free and solicited advice to the Azimio desperados, because I think they're just desperate. Why don't they stick to just...
You're too harsh.
It's true. But why? Here tunasemaga tumambo vile tu open. But you see Bitok, I think what the Azimio orphans can actually do is just be opposition. Try to counter this government in terms of its policies, even deconstruct, for example, the plan as we are trying to understand earlier from Mheshimiwa, just say...
To tackle the government.
Tackle the government. Say, this is the alternative thing we'll do. If we are, and this nonsense of trying to say that we need an official opposition. No, our constitutional dispensation already provides for that, Bitok. That's why if you don't form government, you have got leader of majority, leader of minority in parliament. That's opposition. So easy vipindi wanatupelekea to try and now say, and it's not far-fetched from what we are hearing. We want to force William Ruto to resign. That's rubbish. What nonsense is this? This guy, he was declared president whether you like it or not. You challenged him in court. He was sworn in. So tuache tu puzi. Hii mambo ya kudanganya wa Kenya.
And even on what basis are you nullifying his election? That someone...
certain things Bitok, they just make me angry. But why are we even discussing some nonsense?
Okay, usijamba spole.
Kuna mambo mengine.
They cannot happen in Kenya.
So me, I would rather we actually just challenge this government of the day, like the way we are asking Mweshia, please break down for us what's your plan, how does it apply. That for me is showing Kenyans you are actually alternative. But this looking for sympathy and the rest, and by the way, there may be nothing wrong if what Kenyans are saying, what goes round comes round. Let them also face the music. But of course, I want to agree with Mwesh that I hope it's not a subtle revenge mission from the William Ruto administration.
I don't think he's interested.
But also, I also don't think Bitok, Mwesh, that he should also excuse transgressions because he wants to be seen to be politically correct. Because otherwise, we cannot be able to fix this country if we normalize certain bad manners and behavior. Because that has happened in our political speak.
The cycle also never ends.
Mtu akibu nasikia ameorganize tribesmen wake ati wanamulika mtu wetu amepigwa sijui nini. So we also now I think need to have a very firm president who says, you know what, you cannot get away with some of the bad things that you did. Ati now unakimbilia kwa kabila yako. Yeah. As if ulikuwa na share mshahara na hiyo power with your tribe.
I think what should happen in that is just allow the systems to work
and institutions to
depoliticize the institutions. Let police be police. And by the way, they tried during this last election. Some of them did not completely depoliticize their work, but by and large, a lot of police. Like now, I remember one time when I was talking to the OCPD Mukurweini, the deputy OCPD Mukurweini that time, I asked her, and you people look very calm. And you don't look like you are the way we have been, the promise or the threats we were getting from the deep state and the system. And I remember getting information that we have already been instructed from the IG level to remain neutral. And in fact,
that's how it should be.
In fact, what they were told is that every instruction or every command that is going to be obeyed during these elections must come from the hierarchy. So no instructions, no command coming from the DCC, ACCs, CCCs, RCs. That is not the police command hierarchy. And it was very clear, by the way. And that is why when the commissioners who were acting for government tried to influence the election through the police, they were not able to. Why? Because the police pulled out of the whole mess and said, no, we are going to be. Because they realized also, if we happen to light fire in this country, the IG knew very well, he will be where his predecessor was in ICC. So for him, alitoa command akasema, for me and my work for this one, keep off any political interference. Of course, that's how it should be. And probably that's why we did not go into anarchy in the country, because the police kept off that nonsense. So we want to hope that and believe that the president will definitely allow the institutions to be, EACC to be, the police to be, the intelligence. And I would want to challenge the intelligence. The intelligence of our country, the NIS, they must also help this country. They must help this country. I know these are some of the things that we don't talk about, because when we are talking about NIS every time, we are talking like it's top secret. It's something that is supposed to be angelic. It's not supposed to be touched or addressed. But what I would want to say is that the NIS must help us as a country. For example, why should we continue having these serious troubles with security in your area when we have NIS? Yet this NIS, when it comes to delivering delivering the yeah. Unajua mimi sijakuwa tackle tena. Unanichanganya. Mimi sijakuwa tackle tena, sijajua vile machine yako ina operate. Yeah.
Bitok, when she's raising a very fundamental point. I'll tell you this. I think this is where I agree with you. The NIS is actually failing this country
very much.
Because, for example, I mean, and we have spoken about this many times. Bitok in the tackle. The conflict in Turkana East is actually politically sponsored. Yes. And we know it's because of natural resources that exist in that area. A lot of Kenyans do not know this, that Mount Silale probably has the highest deposit of geothermal in the world. And the Suguta Valley is so rich in terms of resources. But we know the people who are interested in those resources. It's open, So I don't know whether it's NIS that is failing the country or is the government of the day, because I'm sure NIS has this information. It has shared it with the government of the day. So it's probably lack of good political will. Because even this President William Ruto cannot say he does not know. I remember when he was a deputy president back in the days, I spoke to him and I told him, Bill, what's happening in Mount Silale, Kapedo, Lomelo area is because of geothermal exploits. And we, the people who are behind it. Yeah. But so even him now cannot tell us at your intelligence is failing. No, he knows. And in any case, like I said, none of these fellows can say that they are new in government.
The problem with intelligence is sometimes they will spend so much time on political players to know, following them up and know they are
but the most important things.
No, but
that is not the important
thing. But if the intelligence provides information to government, they have done their work because that's who they are. Their business is intelligent, not to even come out in the open and speak about it. So it's the government of the day then that actually ought to be able to enforce the rule of law. It's the executive. Or it is somebody, for example, in government to bring a motion in. Because this information
but do they provide information relevant, not only to the security, but also to other issues in the country, including drug peddling and also other social issues that bedevil us?
I think,
or are they too much engrossed sometimes into political...
I think to be fair to our security intelligence service, there's a time I think we were ranked, number 4? After the CIA, Mossad, KGB. And,
which year was that?
Long time during Colonel's time. Remember when we used to have what you call it, special branch back in the days?
Yes.
Special branch.
During Moi's time.
I mean, Kenya's intelligence, I don't think much has really changed. We still have the structures. Yeah. But I think now the problem, is where the political goodwill of the government of the day is not actualizing the intelligence they get.
Okay. Yeah. Alright, tufunge bunga la mwenyeji. Bunga la mwenyeji liko wazi, nambari ni 0779-800-010. Bunga la mwenyeji liko wazi 0779-800-010. Bunga la mwenyeji liko wazi, nambari ni 079-800-010. Haya, 0779-800-010. Bunga la mwenyeji liko wazi, nambari ni 0779-800-010. 0779-800-010. Tuko na mheshimiwa John Gakuchia, mheshimiwa wa Mukurweini, na tuko na Daktari Ekuru Aukot, party leader. Wewe kikalita ni
wao. Kalenji nimeingia kwa nini kwa tackle?
Enda kunimaliza. It cannot let me prosper.
Unaanza kuongea kikalengini.
That's what I was about to impress. 0779-800-010. Bunga la mwenyeji liko wazi 0779-800-010. Right? Good morning. Bunga la mwenyeji, good morning. Bunga la mwenyeji. Haya. Huyu ni kama ameingia nyasi. Bunga la mwenyeji 0779-800-010, 0779-800-010. Ngana mtu hapa bado yuko ndani. Haya. Good morning. Bunga la mwenyeji.
Hello, morning Gerald. It's Info.
Hi, ni aje?
Poa sana. I tried calling in earlier nikakuta story imekata kabisa.
Story ilikuwa imeshika kidogo, kulikuwa na chita ya matambuchi.
I tell you.
Tumepona.
I want to say hello to Mheshimiwa Gakuchia.
Hello to you.
Salimika sana Mhesh.
Hello to you. Your name again?
Pardon?
Anauliza kwa majina.
Oh, my name is Modoni. Gerald calls me so because he's my friend.
Okay, thank you Modoni.
Musononi, karibu.
Asante sana. I want to say hi also to Dr. Aukot and his beautiful smile.
Thanks, Modoni. That's my daughter's name, Modoni.
Oh, but we will talk about that. I should, nafaa nikutane na yeye ni encourage akue amini you because the issues we've been articulating on the show nimejazika tu yangu yote. I've been listening in and I'm thinking you should come in. Dr. Aukot should come in together with, is it Murgon who's the senator? Mm-hmm. Because of these issues, and Gakuchia was talking about some of the development that is happening in the grassroots, and Daktari was saying he hajaziona vizuri. So we need to know from maybe the Kacheliba MP. Is it Titus? Titus Lotte and David Kosin, who are Pokot South. They need to come in at the same time with Dr. Aukot, because those things that Dr. Aukot is talking about, they are very pertinent issues, and we need to know why is it that on the ground the things that are happening is that the Nyeri MP is saying, the Mukurweini MP is saying, in my place this is happening. So we want to know.
Ekuru hajaona huko kwao, anasema hakuna kabisa.
Yes, anasema hakuna. Na MP wa region nyingine Kenya ile moja anasema upande wake kuna happen. So we would like to know exactly what is happening. Is it that the networks in government are not communicating as they should? Or is there somebody who's sleeping on the job? Or have we gone back to those days when we were saying that Turkana and West Pokot are marginalized? But Dr. Aukot has said clearly it's a different era. They are not as marginalized. Things have improved. Billions are getting down to the grassroots. The problem is the pilfering and the hemorrhage, because the funds are being hemorrhaged to other routes, and it is very wrong. And I agree with him that Ruto's legacy, or Ruto's, the way you pinpointed Kibak did this, Uhuru did this, Moi did this. For Ruto, it should be the filling of those loopholes and, all those holes where the money is being hemorrhaged from. Because even if we collect tax, tuseme hashtag pay tax, hashtag watu walipe ushuru. Then ushuru will end up in the pockets of Mandume. What are we doing? Like we are robbing Peter to pay Paul. Tunachota maji na kichungi, isn't it?
Kweli kabisa.
Yes. I also listened to Gakuchia detailing the plan. The plan when we were in the heat of politics, I tell you today I've listened to it from a different perspective. Because when we were in the heat of politics, I was so excited to even concentrate with the nitty-gritty. I was just so excited with the way Dr. Ruto was organized that I did not even look at some of the details of him being organized. But now today, Mheshimiwa Gakuchia has told us about the increased production, the food security, the water security, the dams, the fact that we have floods today and the next season we have a drought. That is ironical. So that means when we have floods, we should not have any floods. We should have water catchment areas. Something that Moi used to talk about a lot when he was in power. And yes, he has talked about it, the mega dams in the counties and the others in the sub-counties. However, that is why I'm wishing we could have had Julius Mudgor. Dr. Aukot is saying, kwetu sijaona.
Akuja next week. Kama anaweza pata yeye, mwambie yeye next week. You should tell him to come in next week if you can find him.
I know where to pull them from. So let me see.
I have a lot of faith in you.
Amen to that. So now we need to hear, especially because I know Dr. Aukot doesn't bluff. When he says something for sure, on the ground, there is a problem. So we need the Kacheliba MP, the Pokot South MP, the Turkana, the West Pokot Senator. We need those people, and they need to tell us why things are happening on one side of the country and not on the other side of the country. Now, the issues about the sub-chiefs, I was so amazed by that. I was like, I did not know that. I'm always in charge nowadays. Like I go every other 2-3 days, but I did not know that. So I'm very happy with that.
Okay.
Something else, the fact that they are being used for development and not for political reasons. So about the fiber optics that Mahesh has mentioned, it's important it gets to the grassroots. Why? Because now even because people like the Nyumba Kumi stuff, if those people were to get technologically advanced, we would even know when there are security problems, when there are agricultural problems, because nowadays you cannot do anything without technology, even agriculture. Actually, even the pastoralism, there is a way we can be able to fight banditry and these issues that ACTU has been trying to fight, the stock theft. If we were to mark maybe our livestock, there are so many in West Pokot and in the pastoralist region. If they are to be given digital tax, it's something that can be used. Technology can be used to be able, the way they use them in ranches to be able to brand their cattle and to centralize and to know the population of the livestock that they have. The government can embrace that the way we used to have. You remember kitambo kulikuwa na hizi zilikuwa zinaitwaje za agriculture. Tulikuwa I cannot remember, they were in every district. The veterinary farms, they used to do branding ya mang'ombe zinawekwa branding kwa masikio. We can do digital tags of those livestock. We don't have to have stock theft happening in such a crazy way 60 years after independence. It is possible to digitize the records of our livestock. I know, I have seen those big ranches in Laikipia. They do that to their livestock. So government has more money than those wazungus in Laikipia. Trust me. So we can be able to even use the technology that Mahesh is talking about to look at the population of our livestock and to see how we can be able to streamline the fight against stock theft.
Banditry. Okay.
Yeah, the banditry.
They didn't even find a way to even tag the meat.
Yeah. Lastly, about what Dr. Ruto should be looking at, Dr. Aukot emphasized that Ruto has got to have something that he will leave the same way Kibaki left the free education and the roads and the superhighway, and Moi left the Gabions. Who can forget Moi with 4K Club and stuff? Every leader has had their legacy. The issue about climate change, we need to look at from a local perspective. And he talked about it during the inauguration. People are talking about each planting trees, not in a very strong manner.
It's not coming
if we do not look at if we do not look at climate change, Gerald, we are not going to have food security, even if we do what? Even if we build what dams, even if we subsidize fertilizer. We have to look at the issue of climate change. We have to go back to agroforestry, reforestation, and also the issue of just improving the increasing the forest cover. That one we have got to work on it like it is a project like any other. Reforestation should be a priority for this government. And also government should look at the execution of theory. Dr. Aukot talked about theory. When Mheshimiwa Gakuchia was talking about the plan, Aukot mentioned the issue of it being a theory. So this government should come out and stand out as a government that is pushing to execute that theory, the whole theory of what Kenya has been since 1963. There are a lot of proper institutions in this country. It's only that they are not functioning. So now we need to have a revival, a full and total revamp and revival and rejuvenation of the functionality I emphasize, of the systems. Otherwise now, if we do not have that, even if we decorate it how, we are still going to have our beloved Dr. Ruto. I love that man. We are going to have him an ahema, and we don't want that to happen. And of course, nimalizie na issue ya Matiang'i, ni vipindre. Tuachane na sisi tufanye kazi, Gerald. Hatutaki sarakasi. Otherwise,
but you want entertainment. Some little entertainment doesn't hurt.
Lazima tufanyiwe.
Hata kione naye ametengeneza kwaya.
I think we should award him some certificate of in acting. Matiang'i and Akina Raila and the rest. We should award them some certificate.
Kuna Oscars are coming. Kulikuwa na Grammys last week, so Oscars zinakuja hivi karibuni. The Oscars and the Golden Globes are coming in hivi karibuni. Tunafaa tuwaeke entry, but the acting was poor. They did, it was a poorly choreographed. It was very poorly concocted, that plan. I think they should do better next time. Na niliona walikuwa hata kwa GPOS. Coming from such a senior person, because I mean, let's not forget that at the end of the day, Matiang'i is a former CS, Raila is a former prime minister. That was wrong. I mean, that was beneath them, and it's not necessary. I think he should have just done what he did, get a court order, that anticipatory order, and do that. Just do things that are not sarcastic. That's below him. Hiyo aachie watu wa university. Yeye amepita.
Unaongelesha na Mheshimiwa Gakuchia hapa.
I think that was hot air. You have heard about the hot air? Hello, Mudhoni. I actually say that Mudhoni must have been a NA student. That lady has been able to summarize the whole of our show here. Anything that is of importance that Daktari said and I said, she has been able to put it together for even a person who's just joined the show now. Has been able to recap the whole show
and understand what you're talking
She's a NA student. And she also seems to have a proper a glimpse of issues across the country, not only in one area.
Kama kuna lunch unataka kumnunulia mimi naweza mpelekea.
No, actually I think Muthoni need to be in the show one of these days. You need to host her.
She's been here.
Oh, she's been here.
She's hapa. Haizi kutuacha tu hivi.
You have to untie.
You know, when you're an in-law, you don't talk like that. This guy has taken our lady from Nyeri, and when we meet, you want me to be the one. Are you getting?
Sasa mimi nipe.
Tumchunge bibi na tumchunge mfuko.
Sasa mimi nipe.
How? Wakati tunakutana na daktari, he must know that I'm an in-law. In fact, he must send me to Gatito. Yes. Ananituma Gatito na kaunga kidogo, hata yeye anasema imekuwa bei.
Unga imepanda bei.
Unajua among us pastoralists, dowry is not a one-off thing.
It's a continuous process.
That is why every time we meet, one goat.
So Muthoniwa, hata tukutana na wewe pia unarudisha mkono.
Mkono kidogo.
Niliwachungia mrembo. Hata nyinyi mfanye
huyu mrembo wetu amekuchunga daktari. Amekuchunga kabisa. Hata tukiana amekuchunga.
I think there's some issues that are coming up as well. That's at Kenya. Hi Bitok, kindly share Daktari's contact. I need to talk to him. Kenya from Nakuru. Namzana kutafuta. Haya, tumie ujumbe. Dr. Felix Vela. Good morning, Gerald. Someone from Baringo. The issue of banditry is a mess. A big one. Politicians are using it to their own advantages. How is it that bandits are stronger than the government? A good question. And I think this puts you on the spotlight. Mheshimiwa Gakuchia. If you can remember very well during campaigns, the deputy president at that time, William Ruto, spoke very strongly on the issues of banditry. And yes. Alisema kwanza hii kitu itaisha na sio tafadhali. That was when he won the elections. Before he won the elections, he said that the issues of banditry in the northern area and also the Kerio Valley was political, that it was supposed to make him look bad to the wananchi. Now, what explanation should we have from government going forward now? What is the story? I know how sensitive that is, but what is the narrative exactly?
I'm happy that Professor Kindiki has been there severally.
But the moment Kindiki leaves, these guys, they even...
No problem. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The fact that he's showing interest and the fact that he's consistently addressing this issue or showing the concern is good. Maybe what then need to happen is to ensure that the security alignment is done properly. And ensure that people do not stay in some of the areas too much. Also ensure that people who go there are not going there on punishment. Because I know sometimes, like I know one guy who was removed from, and in fact there should actually be a problem. I know one guy who was removed recently from one of the counties. I will not mention which county. Was transferred to those areas. And when you look at then the responses that you will get from that kind of a person, they may not be the best. So we don't need to send people there because they are being punished, because then they will go there with the wrong attitude. What we need to do is to send people who are committed, people who are patriotic, and people who mean business. And they know that they are going there to deal with that problem once and for all. I've seen what has been done here in the city, at least at the CBD level now. You see the petty crime that had infiltrated the city has now reduced. And you see someone had to wake up and take action and agree that this is what we are going to do. Today I see young girls in budukis and in jungle uniforms walking in the city, ensuring that everyone is safe. And you are not going to dare grab someone's phone and you know they are in the next corner, they are just around somewhere. You will be caught with, you'll be caught up with before you escape. I mean, we need someone who must sit down strategically, use the brains of Daktari here and the other leaders in that area and come up with solutions. And this is something that, as the president said, sio tafadhali. I mean, it must be done. And I agree with anyone who thinks that must be dealt with. And I think could be that still would be part of the legacy of this government. Yeah.
You know, Bitok, yeah, there are certain things, Mweshi, let me just inform you some of the...
You come from that area. You can give us a better perspective.
Some of the things that actually trouble us. Because, I mean, I come from Kapedo, and I can tell you in the history of Kapedo, my father and a few other Wazes, about 4 of them, actually were the first settlers in Kapedo back in the days. And even when there is the Full Gospel Mission hospital and school was started, I remember my father used to sponsor the hospital, donating free meat and all that to the school and all that. So I know the history of this place very well. Now, Mwesh, there is something that I think William Ruto, his administration, must do. Okay. Number one, they need to stop the supply of munitions. Because these munitions, and we have evidence, is actually from our Eldoret factory.
Okay. Munitions.
Yes. So the bullets are actually being manufactured by our own government. And somehow they find their way into the hands of these bandits. Number two, if you remember the story of that fake police officer, Waiganjo. Yeah? That story has been swept under the carpet. Why? Because banditry, this so-called cattle rustling, this rubbish called cattle rustling, which is really robbery with violence, is a business. Because, Mwesh, hata ukitembea kwa hii city, uone 5 cows, will you be able to miss them? No. But imagine somebody loses 100 cows, and within a very short time, they have disappeared into thin air. So those cows, I mean, there's a commercial transaction business going on with these so-called cattle rustlers. These people are being sponsored.
It's business.
It's business.
Okay.
Ng'ombe inaibiwa, inakuwa led into a highway, inaekwa kwa lori, hizo ndio ng'ombe unakuta hapo, tunakula sijui nyama hapo, sijui Dagoreti, kona, sujama wapi, and the rest.
Utafanya tuko vegetarian.
And Mwesh, I wish this government, and we have said it many times, I've even written opinions to the Interior Ministry. This is actually nothing called cattle rustling. This is a crime. This is robbery with violence to begin with. It's murder. It's manslaughter. It's destruction of property. So really what government needs to do, it has to be present. You see, and of course the other important thing, I will tell you this. Most of those young soldiers being sent there, they send very inexperienced young boys who have just been recruited from GSU or the police. And then they are not facilitated. Now, that's a very hard terrain, Mwesh. Very hard terrain. If you don't have the proper gear, the proper facilities, experience, you can't handle those bandits. Those are hardcore criminals, those bandits. From both sides, either from the Turkana side or from the Pokot side, and of course across. So facilitation. Sometimes even when I go, and Bitok, I've told you this many times, sometimes even when I go to Kapedo, including even when I went to vote last year, I had to ask for escort. Okay. Now, that is Ekuru Aukot, probably because I can call a senior officer and they will come and wait for me at that junction of Chamalingot and Kapedo. What about the ordinary Kenyan? Okay. Somebody who cannot pick a call and call the IG or call the Inspector General of Police or DCI. This is something, there are many factors. I remember when I was growing up as a young boy in Lomelo, Kapedo area, we used to grow a lot of sorghum and millet by the river. It's actually, that part of Kenya is actually very arable. Okay. The food security Mwesh was talking about earlier on. And that's why for me I was saying, I think the William Ruto administration just in certain areas, yes, the plan could be there. It could be applicable in some areas. But for example, in our area, if you just fix for us our security,
that issue of security,
we will be fine.
The issue of security and banditry is also part of the plan. Now that is the plan in the security area, and that is one of what Professor Kindiki
and I think I need to bring him on board.
The other team members in Nanyuki were told to go sit down and develop a matrix on how they're going to deal with this. And I'm also happy that now your former governor now is at a very high level in government here. He's at a place of influence. Nanok is at a place of influence now, and he can hopefully help to ensure that every policy is made in such a way that it is addressing that issue. Because I'm sure he also knows what happens there. And I hope and believe that he wants to be part of the solution.
He definitely knows. But I think, there's one thing I think your people in government need to reduce. There's too much PR, posting this to look up. Even Kindiki, in my view, I think you need to adapt the Kibaki style of leadership. Kibaki spoke less, but you could see. You could see the results. When Kibaki, for example, when engineer came up with the idea of CDF, Karue. When engineer Karue came up with the idea of CDF, Kibaki gave it a political blessing. But even though people do not know actually it is engineer Karue Akilu came up with the idea of CDF, but Kibaki ran away with it because he gave it a political impetus. So I think Kindiki should listen on this press conferences and the rest. I'm happy, yes, he's showing interest, but let's also see some action. Because like now on the ground, Mweshe, and I'm telling you, I can even share with you evidence of people being shot yesterday in a place called Kakongo, inside Turkana South, in Lomelo and the rest. It's warfare. By the time these guys actually, and you know, for me, where I think these bandits got away with this, I don't know whether you remember 2014 November, when about 25 police officers were killed in Kapedo area. Uhuru Kenyatta flew there then as president in full military gear and all that. And the Pokot elders came and told them, we apologize. We killed these people thinking they are Turkanas. Okay? And all Uhuru said, I want you to return my guns. He didn't tell those who says, now that you are confessing, it's your boys who killed. Can you produce those boys and face the full force of the law? And I remember citizen journalists were even the ones collecting guns. They were told, go to this point, go to this kichaka, onaleta bunduki zote zirudishwa. But we never punish the crime. And that's why for me, I think, Mweshe, we need to change the perspective now. Can we begin to punish this thing as a crime? So that people now understand the rule of law is there.
Have we had any attempts by parliamentarians from that region to criminalize this through legislation in the past?
We don't need legislation because there's a penal code is there. We don't need legislation. If you come to my house, what is my property, Bitok? If you look at the Constitution of Kenya today, at Article 45, it defines what property is.
You could expunge use of terminology like cattle rustling in government.
No, boss.
It is theft.
There's nothing called cattle rustling.
Theft.
If you come and take away my cow,
It's your property.
with violence, using a gun, and you even maim me,
Robbery with violence.
that's robbery with violence. It's in our laws. So that's what I'm saying. We just need the government to be present in these regions.
Treat it like SPLF.
Exactly. Just treat it like that. Once we do that,
the only issue is
because
that
Mwesh, if I come to your house today in Mukurweini and I rob you,
Take your cow.
I break you, not even take your cow, even take your sufuria, or just mulika mwizi. If I take a mulika mwizi here on the streets of Nairobi and I grab it from you violently, the law is very clear. That's robbery with violence. Why isn't my cow property the same way mulika mwizi is the property of somebody in Nairobi?
I agree with you. Absolutely. Probably the only area I don't agree with you absolutely is on the issue of communication. In the era of social media and too much information out there, government officers must communicate. And unfortunately, that is the case. When we had Kibaki in power, the issue of social media was not so much prevalent. We did not even have WhatsApp that time, by the way. But now with you already have a WhatsApp video on what was happening yesterday in Kapendo. You do have it, you see. You are not there, but you have it here. And you will just put it like this in the social media and everyone will have it in Kenya. As a waziri, you keep quiet when you have gone there, you are doomed. Why? Because
that's why you're not working.
Yeah, you're not working. So the issue of talking is important.
But also, if you can get a video of bandits in action, why not video of government in action?
You've seen those?
That's the question.
That's where now.
Where is the action?
That's where the government, led by the CS now, would visit there to go and, would visit there. But now what we need to see is the complete action. And not action for the sake of action, but being done in a very strategic way. They need to be done.
I would want to give this government a benefit of doubt, because it is just they are just within the 1 year. They have not completed. But Bitok, what disappoints me about even previous governments, and I'm hoping that this government will not be a disappointment.
Yeah.
I used to forward this, some of this intel directly to Kibisho, Matiang'i, because these are people I know. I consider them fairly friends. So when I share this information with them real time, like you say, and there's no action. Even when you tell them, hey, by the way, I've just received this from the ground, from the community, they think there is a mobilization going on. Yeah, please do something about it. Yeah. And there's no actions. I want to believe, and I want to give Kindiki the benefit of doubt. We will be forwarding this information to them, even as we get it. Whether it's rumors or not, the information is good. Yes. Then you can investigate. I'm just hoping that they will take more action, and they should also appreciate the fact that I'm not a police officer, but people forward me information.
They have trust in you.
Yeah, I would rather share it with the right
Even
guys.
Modoni has said that you are not bluff. So. A lot of trust in your information. If you say it, then it is.
Tunatumia mpaka hata Ruto. Si tuko ndani yake naona tu kidabotik WhatsApp. Tunajua amesoma.
Kabisa mbona. Kwanza David Ngericha amesema he suggesting that we go and do a show in Pokot. Tutafinywa bwana. So David, good morning GB. I think you need to have a show in West Pokot or Kapedo with the 4 communities and their leaders for the address issues on cattle rustling add-on. Okay, we will try, and I get enough balls for now. Things might get elephant, but I think we need to have a conversation, with the leadership, with the leaders, because they have a responsibility. Kevin,
I appreciate that we may have to have a meeting with the leadership, but the truth for the matter is, part of the problem in this industry of so-called cattle rustling is actually that leadership. So for me,
so it's
I prefer
action.
I prefer government taking action, especially or even on incitement alone. Yeah, because we know some leaders actually will thrive on this thing. You see, like in East Pokot, which borders Turkana East, where I come from. Ukitaka kuchaguliwa MP, lazima mobilize vijana waende wanyoroshe wa Turkana. Sasa hizo Pokot unasikia tuko na kiongozi.
Morale. Shindo hapo. Wanipe tu helicopters siku moja nizunguke na bunduki tatu.
But they will shoot you down. Yeah. You remember the former PC nani? What was his name? I can't remember his name. The PC was brought down by nini?
Dangerous.
Yeah, these guys bring, and that's why I keep on saying, not
like a government on its own.
Not to disrespect our soldiers, there's an avenue in our constitution where the president can actually approach parliament and tell parliament, allow me to use our military to ensure there is national security. Me, I don't know. We are not at war with anyone. Why is our Air Force, Kenya Army, just sitting in the barracks when there is a serious domestic terrorism happening in our villages?
They should be there.
And the constitution allows the president can actually approach Bunge today and say, please allow me, and they will be put under the command of the IG, so that they observe policing as a service. Okay. So they will not go there as military guys, shooting the enemy. I know that Chapter 14 is very clear about the role of our defense forces, but it also allows for them to fix matters. Domestic, and that's why for me,
and
that's why I was so pissed off with the fact that we are sending our soldiers to DRC Congo when we in Kapedo here,
you have a local problem.
We have a local problem.
All right, 20.
There are some people who are forming a caucus in Parliament. Some of the parliamentarians who are forming a caucus to stand with DRC on the issue of the DRC conflict. And I liked what Cynthia Muge, honorable member for Nandi, the women rep. She asked the members, come on, you guys, why are we forming a caucus to stand with the DRC conflict? Why don't we probably do a caucus maybe to start with our banditry issue here in Kenya?
Local problem.
And I backed her up. In fact, when I met her, I told her, I think I liked your comments. Yeah, let's not be hypocritical. We have
enough problems already.
We have a problem here ourselves. As members of parliament, why don't we put our heads together and ask ourselves, how do we bring this one to an end? Before we ask ourselves how we bring the DRC Congo menace to an end.
Even in Somalia,
we are still several years down the line.
We still have our guys there.
Okay. 27 minutes past 9 a.m. Kevin Kipkemei, good morning. Gentlemen, the issue of banditry is still political since the system hasn't been dismantled. I was in Lomud and Cheptulel area and I found strange experience there. All right, these are people from the ground. All right, gentlemen, I think we're going to take our tackles of the day. You can take the lead, Dr. Ekuru, so that our guest here who is new in the system can take some cue. Your tackle of the day.
I think my tackle of the day is that even as we criticize the current administration of William Samoei Ruto, it is important that they appreciate that criticism is good. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I posted something on Twitter and somebody was telling me, why are you criticizing this government? You supported it. Yeah. So what? I was exercising my constitutional right to elect a government and to participate in a government. And I had my choice. But it does not mean I will become blind to the misgivings or misdeeds of the government. I even saw Nani, actually, David Ndie, sort of attack me and tell me, so what happened to your alternative leadership? I mean, I'm thinking, come on. You're an academic. You ought to know that people exercise their political choices, but doesn't mean you actually just relapse and not be able to call. That is the whole question of accountability. We don't have any other government, Bitok, as Mheshimiwa Gakuchia can confirm. We only have one government of the day. And that government of the day, we have got expectations from that government, whether I voted for them or not. You know? So it is the constitutional democratic right, and I think I want to tell tacklers, do not shy away from criticizing this government, even if you do not support it. But let us also not be, be lured into some drama and theatrics like the Matiang'i case is now proving. Because I mean, if people really and for me, I feel bad that one of the lawyers was saying that there are 200 lawyers here, and you have not given us even a semblance of evidence of what was happening. You know, so I just think that. We still need to have a serious conversation about our country because we expect the best from our government every day. And for me, I don't care whether I supported it or not, or I voted for William Ruto or not, but it's my constitutional right to call it out when I think something is wrong. And that's why, even today, I'm happy Mwish has broken down his plan, but I've also told him, your plan could be working elsewhere. Our problems are different. So maybe the plan needs to be more accommodative of the diversity of this country.
They need to re-engineer the plan.
The only books Mheshimiwa can confirm that we cannot amend are the holy books, the Bible, the Quran, and the others. But even the plan can be amended to suit the circumstances.
Thank you very much. I explained to my brother Daktari here that the plan that I expounded was largely on agricultural production. The plan still handles the issue of insecurity. The plan still handles the issue of livestock in agriculture. So the fact that I expounded the plan in an area which I'm very well familiar with, at least where I'm able to see what is happening, doesn't mean that the plan does not have and doesn't contain all those other issues. And so there may not be need for amendment because the plan caters for all those areas and all facets of life in Kenya. And so all that we need to do maybe is then when we have another opportunity, we can now come and expound the plan in those other spheres of life. Nevertheless, I would like to give my tackle and say that the government officials, particularly the ones that have been appointed by His Excellency the President to implement the plan, must know that we are watching and must know that we have fought hard to gain this government and to have this government in power. And so most of them are there not by the virtue of maybe the political stand that they had, and not because they were in the trenches, but they have been given, nevertheless, the work to implement what we fought for. What we want to ask them is to remain true to themselves, to remain true to the dream, to remain true to the plan that we have. And they must familiarize themselves completely with what His Excellency the President is looking for. And we are also not going to be, watching any blunders being made. in any area. We won't allow that also. Personally, as a parliamentarian, I am also in oversight, and I oversight the executive. I'm in total support of the executive. I'm in total support of the programs. I expound them, I explain them, I do whatever is required. But again, where I see any failures, I can confess here that I am not one of those people who will let things go wrong as I watch. So we are keen, we are clear that the government must live up to the expectation of the public, and we must always know that we have goodwill from the public. You have heard my brother here saying that giving us benefit of doubt, and he's really crossing his fingers, hoping that we don't let him down at his place of need and hour of need, where eliminating of banditry and insecurity in the northern area, and also even in our areas, we have also other smaller levels of insecurity, maybe smaller as compared to what we'll be having in the northern region. So we must, as a government, live up to that expectation. We must not let down our people. We must ensure that we do what was not achieved. We achieve what was not achieved before. And of course, I would also want to advise our people not to pay too much attention to the side shows. There's too much side shows that are being done by the Azimio Brigade. I may not want to call them desperados, as my brother did. But, I did diplomacy, so I tend to be a bit diplomatic. So I may not want to call them desperados.
To pass that message across.
But there's a lot of side shows which are not necessary. For example, how would you be saying that you prosecuted your case all the way to Supreme Court, and then 6 months down the line, you have slept and woken up, and some faceless guys somewhere have said that they now have new evidence about how the election was stolen. You don't produce this evidence. You don't produce the names of this person alleging the dossier. You don't give anything. Instead, you come to the media with a full scalp with the new results, and now you declare yourself the winner using a full scalp in the media, and then media gives that validation and gives it prominence as if it were true. Really, and I also want to challenge you guys in the media. Can you imagine how embarrassing now it is when you have put a headline there that breaking news without verifying and checking the facts on the ground? So let us not pay attention to the side shows. Let us remain on track. Concentrate on what it is that we're supposed to do. When it comes to coffee farming and tea farming, let us deal a blow to the cartels, as we are doing now. I'm sure you people must have known by now that as of last week, the coffee prices have started rising once again, and because of some of the maneuvers that are happening in the market today. So we must remain on course. We must remain on course on the issues of livestock farming. I mean, so many countries out there are looking for us to export our beef to them, like UAE, Qatar, Saudi, and many other countries that have desert in their areas. So we have to work harder here and ensure that we are supplying to them. So yes, indeed, we must remain focused, and we as the parliamentarians must also be the voice of the people. That as
Bitok,
John Gakuchia, I will be the voice of the people.
Bitok, yes. I have a message from Mweshe to deliver to Deputy President Rigiji. Okay. I get the feeling Rigiji is shocked he's the Deputy President of the country. He seems not to have moved from the campaign mode. I think in the spirit of what you are saying, Mweshe, that we focused, I think I don't like it when, for example, a Deputy President of the country keeps on referring to his region. You must transcend beyond a certain, political dialogue at this time. And I think there should be focus now on delivery, really, than trying to remind Kenyans, wale watu wetu, tuliwashinda. No, the election ended, hiyo mambo iliisha. Sasa sisi tunatarajia tuone tu matokeo. I just think that whereas the intention is very noble from the presidency, but I think us being reminded that sisi watu wa mulima, na sasa sisi watu huko tutasema sisi ni watu wapi. But I'm looking up to my deputy president to be national, not to keep on referring to his region or where he comes from.
More national now.
Yeah, he should be more.
Think about every Kenyan.
Yeah.
Ujumbe itafika Mheshimiwa Gakuchia.
Inajua maybe Rigiji is just one of those guys who are real and
no, that's one.
He's a truthful man.
He speaks his mind,
Honest man.
and by the way, people have come to like him for that. He says what as it is, and when he says it, then you know it is. So it's good to be truthful sometimes, and also to be real, and to speak your heart out and your mind out. And maybe that's how leaders should be, and that way we will not have a lot of
I want to see more as national.
Saying, yes. Like, now we can allow you.
Yes.
We can allow you to speak about the people.
You can speak about Mukurweini. But even for you, Mweshe, I still also expect it to be a national leader because you are representing.
In terms of
you're a representative in a national institution. So even for you, yes, even though you are representing the people Mukurweini, but at least also sometimes tuangalia pia sisi watu ya kutoka kule.
Umesikia vile nimeongea passionately about how we must defeat bandits.
Sasa amesema hata Rigiji aombe kidogo.
Thank you very much.
38 minutes past 9 a.m. 38 minutes past 9 a.m. This has been Sheria Wiki of 10th February 2023. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming in. It's a pleasure to have you, mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much.
Ekuru is a resident here. So, karibu tena. Tukimaliza hapa tunaenda supu. Hii ndio culture.
Unajua mheshimiwa hawezi kutuacha tu hivyo.
You have to go down.
Hapa mambo ya dawa hata hapa unaangukia leo.
The water will spill on me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Douglas, for also joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you, the guys on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us and contributing to the show. Without you, the tackle could never be. So, all right. I wish you a very great weekend. Enjoy yourself and see you on Sunday on Men Only with Jacob Aliet and Silas Nyachwani.
You can for our boy child affair.
Yeah, Tuesday.
On the 14th, yes.
Yeah, Tuesday takuja. Lakini before that
to talk about matters boy child.
Where is?
Unasema
At Kenya School of Government.
Why am I not invited?
Now you're invited.
Sending the invitation now.
To be talk, not to me.
Yeah? Okay, mheshimiwa, my apologies.
Can you look me in the eye?
When is it again?
On the 14th. On the day of Valentine. So we want to talk about the boy child. Sabu, we feel that the boy child has been neglected for a long time.
In ile men's conference tena.
No.
Around him kuna na physical.
We want to give the boy child sound advice, guidance. Because you see, Mweshi, if you look at a lot of the campaigns about children, you look at FGM, early marriages, school dropouts, it's always resolved around the girl child. So that the issues actually of the boy child for a long time have been neglected. Because even right now we need to talk about substance abuse, you know, which is really something common with the boy child more than the girl child, you know.
Yeah, so karibu.
So the invitation.
Thank you.
Na Sunday
we just need to have an easy conversation like this.
The biggest story. It's
very good.
I think the biggest crisis of the generation will be tourism, man. That is the biggest crisis. Yeah, if there is every generation has had a crisis to deal with, I think the biggest for us would be
boys. Wale watu ambao wanalia tifea na kuliwa ni boy child.
Imagine bwana. Na uchumi ni bwana.
Kwa nini mnatuma fare alafu?
Imagine unalala njaa usinunue unga.
So boy child anatuma fare alafu the next thing analia
anaumia mara mbili. Yes, I will see you on Sunday or Sunday evening on Men Only. We continue the conversation on the issues of men. We speak boldly on them. So see you there. Lakini wa mama msikuja. Last week wa mama mlijaa. Na mmeleta shida kwa manyumba. That is Men Only on Sunday. Please make sure that you only show up if you are a man. Even if you are in a trouser, you are not a man. As long as you can confirm that you are a man. You know what I mean by that. Until then, enjoy weekend and see you on Sunday evening.
Na mtu transgender akikuja?
Hapo kuna shida, itabidi umekaa nje ndio mpaka tukonfirm
na kuna mambo yanaitwa LGBTQ.
Hiyo tunakemea.
Hiyo maneno ni ngumu sana.
Hiyo tumekemea.
Hiyo hapana.
Tumekemea katika jina la Yesu. All right, bye bye and take care. See you.